Marshall and Luis from Limited Resources, and we're trying something a little different this time. We are actually going to watch a match, Luis, that you played 7 years ago now, in 2009 at Pro Tour Kyoto. Now, this is Kyoto, right?
It is Kyoto, yeah.
And this is the finals. You against Gabriel Nassif, and this is... this happened when I was first starting to get into Magic. It's one of the matches that I've seen a bunch of times. We had to kind of dig it out of the archives for this, but this
took some work to find, actually.
It did, yeah. And this is going to be game number 4. And so, we were thinking it would be cool if we sat down, and you haven't watched this, right?
Yes,
is that true?
So there's a couple things going on here. One, I think this is one of the best games of Magic I've had a chance to be a part of, just over my entire Magic career, or even over watching other matches. And the other is that I was up 2-1 in the series, and this game, potential decider. This is in the finals of the Pro Tour. This would be actually the second Pro Tour win in 6 months had I won this game.
Wow, yeah, you won Berlin in 2008, and this is shortly after that.
The first Pro Tour in 2009.
Yeah, so again, we're going to be joining this in game 4. You can see coverage has changed a little since 2009. We've got much higher quality video now. We're just going to talk over it. You can see BDM and Randy in the booth at the time, covering it. Now you're often in the booth, and I am as well. I'm curious, are you nervous to watch this? It has to feel weird, right?
It does feel a little weird. Like I said, I have not actually rewatched this game. Basically ever. I mean, I played it. I was there.
Yeah.
but we actually, to recreate the whole Pro Tour experience, we have a viewing audience. We have Tim Willoughby and Gabby Sparts here watching us kind of relive our coverage glory or something.
All right, and so we're underway here in game number 4. You can see, Luis, you're up 2-1 as we start, and this is actually a key play.
Right. So to a little bit of context, Nassif's playing 5-color control. Cruel Ultimatum, Muldrifter, all that jazz, Cryptic Command. I'm playing black-white tokens. And a big part of my deck is this Windbrisk Kites. It's that land that I just played tapped. What I have hidden under Windbrisk Kites defines this game. And the card under it is Head Games, which lets me replace Nassif's hand with any number of cards I want. Like basically for every card in his hand, I go through his deck and put a different card in instead.
Yeah. Now, in order to trigger your Windbrisk Kites, you need to put yourself in a spot where you can attack with 3 creatures, correct, pay a white, tap it, and then you can play the spell under it for free.
So a lot of this game is me trying to set that up. So the first play here is actually my Kitchen Finks getting broken ambitions getting countered. But
sweet reflecting pool there.
Oh yeah, of course I'd use the Tempest reflecting pools.
I love that artwork. And there's old school Luis.
Oh yeah, I was not exactly the same.
Yeah, you do. You look different now. And there's Gabe Nassif. Gabriel, by the way, somebody who doesn't play a whole lot of Magic these days for modern Magic fan. We're recording this in 2016, but Gabe is often considered one of the 3 to 4 best players of all time, actually.
Oh yeah, he's unquestionably in the top 5, and wouldn't be surprised if he was 3rd. After Kai and John. So I've got a Johnny Goldmane in play, which normally a very good card, but the fact is that its main use is giving all my creatures ++1, and I have nothing in play. It's actually a pretty slow start for me, which kind of plays right into 5 colors hands. Look
at his hand.
He's got 2 Broodmate Dragons, 2 Cruel Ultimatums, and 2 Cryptic Commands.
Yeah.
That's an insane amount of power.
It is, and it's just funny. It also shows the difference and this was standard, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this was that hand you could play in standard at the time, where he casts spells that cost red, black, blue, alongside blue, right? Alongside Broodmate, which has the full Jund package in it. It's insane.
So here, another big part of this game is that I'm stuck without black mana. I'm playing black-white tokens. I've got Bitter Blossom, Spectral Procession, Tide Hollow Sculler, and another copy of Head Games in my hand there. And I don't have any black sources in play. I kept a hand without black sources, and I look very unamused.
You don't look worried about it, no?
No.
Yeah, that is, of course, the downside to the mana base that you have here. Is
the mana was not good in the deck.
Yeah,
and Reflecting Pool's kind of part of that.
It either is the best card or it can really compound.
If I have a black source, Reflecting Pool now taps for black or white, but I don't have a black source out yet. Mm-hmm. And Nassif's, of course, reading a Johnny to make sure when the ultimate is going to happen, which makes an avatar of power toughness equal to my life total.
Right, which he's not that worried about.
No,
right?
He's got. Cryptic Command
a lot of ways to deal with
can bounce and kill it.
Yeah, even if you don't have, if the shields are down, something like a Cruel Ultimatum might even be able to kill it though.
So I do see him moved on from using the colored beads for.
Yeah,
for
that's another thing that's funny. I remember that people used to carry little bags of those around. You just don't see these anymore. They're all dice now.
Notice I'm not actually using Channel Fireball sleeves, and that's because this was the first tournament after we launched Channel Fireball. We didn't have sleeves yet or anything like that.
Crazy.
I think my Pro Tour report was the first article up on the website.
Wow, that is so sweet.
So I thought I was dead, by the way. At this point in the game,
Yeah.
I just think like I can't possibly win. I'm sitting there with no threats in play. I haven't pressured his life total at all, and I just have no way to stop him from getting to his powerful late game.
I can see that you're actually chatting with Nassif a little bit here back and forth as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like Nassif. We've always had, a very friendly relationship.
Hey, you just found black mana.
So Arcane Sanctum, it's a come into play tapped and taps for black, blue, or white. No blue cards in the deck. It's just a come into play tapped black, white land.
Wow, yeah, the mana wasn't good.
But
What card is this that you're
That's
playing?
a Bitter Blossom. So it's a very, very good card. Less good on like turn 6 or 7, which is what it is. Turn 5. No, it has to be at least turn 6. I think I missed a land drop. Obviously. But
you've got a Tidehollow Scholar.
yeah, and because of
here,
the Arcane Sanctum, both those reflecting pools now tap for black.
Wow,
So
that was actually a big draw.
He let
for
Bitter
you.
Blossom resolve. Tidehollow Sculler is one that frequently doesn't resolve, but Nassif has, he's got basically every answer in the book, and this is when the game really gets started.
He's going to Cryptic Command.
Yeah, he's just going to counter the
And
Tidehollow
just counter
Sculler.
it and draw a card, I'm assuming? Or?
Yeah, he just wants to hit land drops. I think he's thinking about whether he wants to draw a card or not, and actually, you see me wearing the Adventures On hoodie because that's the website I worked for before Channel Fireball, and my contract hadn't actually expired in terms of wearing the gear, even though we were launching
crazy.
Channel Fireball at the same time. Oh yeah, I don't look happy in a while.
No, you do not look thrilled. Yeah. You are giving him a little bit of the death stare. I like that.
Do they really have to pan on me? I mean, look at that. I mean, he chose to bounce the Bitter Blossom.
Yeah, he did.
So again, no cards in play against an opponent who has just infinite power in their deck, essentially.
Now, you haven't been attacking with this Mutavault. It was Plumeveil the card that they had there?
Yeah, it's a flash 4/4 flying defender for triple blue-white hybrid. And getting a Mutavault snapped off by Plumeveil was just like the worst thing I could ever imagine.
Especially when you were a little low on mana.
Yeah.
It's funny, I played a lot of Standard this time, during this time. I remember these cards, even though this was actually when I first started playing Magic, was during this time.
Well, that's actually how this match came up, was we were talking about that year.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Nassif, he did reveal a little bit about his hand in this last turn. He chose to cast Esper Charm main phase to draw 2 cards.
Would that indicate a lacking of
Indicate that he
lands
wanted to
for
hit a
you?
land drop, and then he played a tapped land. So his shields are kind of down here, because Broken Ambitions is the only cheap counter, so I figured I could resolve something here. So I get to replay the Bitter Blossom.
Right, is that why you don't play the head games from your hand here? Because it does get Broken Ambition?
Or negated, because this is post-board and there's a chance he's got negates in his deck.
There's a big chance he's got negates in his deck.
We'll find out.
Yeah. But you decide to run out the Bitter Blossom here, which is a reasonable threat. Also can start getting you some creatures that it's hard for him to deal with indefinitely because it just keeps spitting them out. He has no clock on you right now. And also, you still have that Windbrisk Kites with the head games under it, just sort of hiding down there.
And that wasn't really part of my plan at this point. Bitter Blossom, even this late in the game, still a credible threat against the 5-color deck. They don't have a great way to get rid of it besides Esper Charm. So
he let that resolve, I would think?
Yeah.
And then
here's a Sculler.
And then you played a Sculler. So similar to last turn.
And at this point, I see the negate. He could have negated. He chose not to.
By the way, there is that Plumeveil there as well.
And I thought I was just going to lose now because it's like, look at his hand. It's like
His
Broodmate
hand's
Dragon,
insane.
Cruel Ultimatum, Plumeveil, Broodmate Dragon, negate. And I think he may have actually discarded a Cruel Ultimatum earlier. There was one turn where I don't believe he played a land. He just discarded to hand size. So it was a weird game because he discarded missing a land drop earlier as well.
And you can't interact with things, right?
No, I have no counter spells in my deck.
Like you're playing a black-white token stack.
Yeah, our deck was just trying to flood the board with creatures, and it was just trying to use cards like Bitter Blossom, Spectre Procession, and combination with like a Johnny and Windbrisk Kites to get an advantage. It had Thoughtseize and Tidehollow Sculler, so it had some disruption, but I don't feel very secure here. I've got a Tidehollow Sculler in play with a Cruel Ultimatum under it. At some point, Nassif is going to kill the Tidehollow and get the Cruel Ultimatum back. This isn't a Thought-Knot Seer. You just get the card back.
You just get it back in your hand straight away, and yeah, that's a pretty rough one to deal with.
And at the very least, I knew he could resolve a Broodmate Dragon. I mean, 2 4/4 flyers is no joke. Like I had at this point a 2/2 and a 1/1 coming from the Bitter Blossom, assuming he stayed in play. Even something like the Plumeveil you were talking about, still I have trouble attacking into it. And one of the reasons it was really hard to sideboard against the 5-color deck is that if I want to keep cards like Path to Exile in my deck, it's just so weak against Cryptic, Cruel Ultimatum, all that kind of card. But how do I remove Plume Veil?
Now, was this your second top 8? Was Berlin your first?
Yeah, this was my second top
So
8.
you made your first PT top 8. You won.
Yeah.
What was the difference coming into this one? Like, was your confidence level a lot higher because like you kind of been there and it wasn't as overwhelming, or were you still pretty worked up about it?
Well, it's kind of funny because the people I tested with for this PT, this was before Team Channel Fireball. This was like me, Josh Utter-Layton, Jerry Thompson, David Ochoa, and a couple other guys from like Northern California.
But this is before you guys were like
Ooh, a nice little beta terror in there.
CFB. Oh, that's nice. I like that.
I had style even back then. But we thought our black-white deck was just like a straight-up 50-50 deck is what it felt like. I mean, we thought it was a little better than that or we wouldn't have played it, but we won about half our matches in the tournament.
And was this a split format Pro Tour?
This was split. This was actually, I think, the first split. This was
maybe.
actually the very first split format Pro Tour. You know, I drafted Nicole Bolas Planeswalker in the draft portion.
Did you?
Oh, yeah, and I got to activate it. All right, so here is like one of the first good turns of the game for me. Since I resolved a Cloud Goat Ranger, this is the 3/3 that comes with 3/1/1 Kithkin. And I have the, well, I guess I have a thought.
Is that supposed to be a fairy?
Yeah,
it's we were a little looser back then.
Yeah.
I mean, this is when, by the way, you know, for those that haven't watched from a coverage perspective, like this is all we showed.
Oh, yeah.
There wasn't video coverage of anything prior to this. It was Sunday only. And by we, I mean I was like, I watched this on the stream. And you can obviously see the quality, you know, isn't nearly as high as what we have now. Wow, so now you've got a team here, though.
Yeah, so Cloud Goat, you know, Army in a Can, it was going to give me a chance to really actually pressure Nassif, because it was big enough to punch through, because it gets +2/+0 if you tap your 3 Kithkin and flying. Can punch through at least one of the 4/4s, but here I'm untapping, and here's a big turn for me, because I get my second Bitter Blossom Thopter, and here's where I really try to trick him, because
you can see he's left the negate mana.
I knew he has negate. Remember, I know this from the title score.
And
So
he's got that
I
mana.
tap out for a Johnny. I remember this turn, and I assumed for sure Nassif was going to just counter the Ajani. I didn't even play a land yet.
Yeah, I mean, look at your board. If you minus a Johnny here, each creature gets +1/+1 counter, right?
Right. -2 Ajani. Each creature gets a ++1 counter. I think.
Look at Nassif. Did you see him smile?
High 90% of the people in the tournament, if not more, would just snap off negate on this. It was so obvious. Like, why? Of course he's going to negate it. And the
Look
whole
at him.
time, yeah.
He knows.
Yeah, he knows. He's like, what's under that Windbrisk Kite? I left the Windbrisk Kite up. I hadn't even played a land yet. And he's got to think like, what's better than a Johnny? And I just like assumed this was going to get countered. Actually, I put it like on my Bitter Blossom, trying to assume I just like that it resolved to make him think that I actually didn't want him to counter. Like I wanted him to counter it. Like I tried to like, just assume it resolved. And he's like, no, hold on. And I was thinking so now what he's trying to think. This is the big turn of the game is, if I counter that Ajani, what's coming out? If I don't counter Ajani, can I beat this board of now 5 2/2s and a 4/4 Cloud Goat?
Now, in your mind, you can go attack with everything, land, activate, and get mind games as well to kind of seal the deal.
Yeah, head game. So,
or excuse me, head game. Sorry.
Well, there are mind games going on too. But
yeah, I see that.
But I was just sitting there, and it's just like if he counters this, I just I attack with 3 tokens, head games him, and he's left with all lands in hand. I'm just going to replace his hand with all lands, and he's got 3 4/4s against my Cloud Goat plus now 2 tokens. So I had to lose some tokens in the fight. And then I would end up next turn, because I still had the Terror in my hand. I still had a couple other spells. I would be able to overpower the 4/4s, and especially with a Bitter Blossom too, and like a Mutavault. Like I had enough action overall. I thought I was going to win. I thought that I didn't think I was winning this game at all. I thought I was losing every single turn of the game. But this turn, I thought that if he lets this Ajani Goldmane get countered by negate, and then I get to head game him, I actually would have a real shot, because my hand would be a lot better than his.
God, it's incredible. He's still thinking here, right?
Oh yeah, Johnny's still in the stack. After this game, he actually gets a warning to play faster.
Yeah, he can be pretty deliberate.
Well, not a warning, a talking to.
A talking to. Now, at this point, are you thinking like he's going to figure it out? Like, how good is this guy?
Yeah,
right?
I was thinking like, crap, he's not going for it, because like most people would just look at the fact that I had 7 creatures in play and think, oh, of course you counter the Ajani. It's just what else could be better than Ajani? And Nassif had to remember head games. I have my aw shucks face on there.
Little disappointment creeping in.
What could be better than Ajani? This looks like the most powerful card you could have on this board. But again, he's thinking of that Windbrisk, and I of course didn't play a land intentionally, but Nassif saw through that. That one's not too hard to figure out. And he comes to the conclusion that actually, head games is better, and I can beat a Johnny. The funny thing is, it's not even 100% clear which one is better to resolve. Like, I thought it was better to resolve the head game.
This is still good for you, right?
Well, it is. I mean, I know I can't go for the head games this turn, though. So I activate the Mutavault, and then I use a Johnny.
Okay, so you're going to put counters on everything, including the Mutavault. By the way, those beads are real classics.
Yeah. And so I didn't even play a land this turn. And the reason I didn't is I wanted really to sell to Nassif that I wasn't trying to get the head games.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So I intentionally didn't play the land. Though I actually had an Arcane Sanctum, which I could have played, which I think I should have played, but I had a case
which
of
still
Coilos,
sells it.
Yeah. But now Nassif gets to attack a Johnny if he wants. Remember, I have a 4/4 Cloud Goat that can gain flying and 2/2/2 flyers. So he's sending in both Broodmates there, and I can trade off a bunch of creatures for them. But that makes my follow up of head games a lot worse and makes my Johnny a lot worse. I also have to worry about the fact that he's got Cruel Ultimatum.
Yeah.
And
so, does he have any creatures in his yard right now, or would that Broodmate be the first one?
No, I don't want to put the Broodmate in the yard.
Yeah, he gets value.
Yeah, and in a turn or so ago, he infested to kill the Tidal Escaler. I think they missed it on the slow pan of me snarling at Nassif. But so you see, he's got great plays this turn no matter what. So
unfortunately, we didn't get to see. Did you end up blocking?
I ended up chumping twice.
Okay, you chumped twice with the 2 fairy tokens.
Yeah, and then he just played another Broodmate.
Yeah, he's like, look, you get a 1/1 per turn, I'll get 2 4/4s per turn, and we'll just see how this goes. He's also kind of emptying out his hand here, but the key thing that, man, he just will not let go of is look at the mana, right? He's got the blue and the white there for that negate still. He just knows. At this point, though, you're falling pretty significantly behind on board. You're going to use your Terror to take down the untapped dragon. That's just red. The Broodmate is green, black, and red.
It's immune to fear, but
yeah, but the red dragon can be
terrored. So I end up terroring that. He could have negated again. He's still kind of off doing that, and I'm left in a kind of a position here where I can attack, but the 4/4s just make the attack so awkward. What I really want to do is, besides even resolving head games, is just make sure that I get the max value out of a Johnny here.
And that means that getting as many +1/+1 counters on as many creatures as possible.
Yeah, I really want to find like a Glorious Anthem or another way to make it so those 3/3s become 4/4s, because the 4/4 is really the line I need to cross. Like, I've got a Mutavault here. Mutavault actually isn't an unreasonable way to trade off. But
should trade off for either the dragon or the Plume Veil.
But the Cloud Goat is one short of having the really good double trade, because it's a 5/5, and I can make it a 7/5 with the Kithkin. But if he double blocks, it's just not great for me.
Okay, you do play that Arcane Sanctum now. How many is it? 4 cards in LSU's hand now? I'm sure that he's still paying attention to every move.
Yeah, and I was trying to do my best to conceal that I cared about the Windbrisk Kites card, but I think he figured it out last turn, and that was why he didn't go for the negate on the Ajani. Especially since Nassif figured his hand was so good that if he's able to untap and just have these cards and play other cards out of his hand, then he would be able to overpower me, which, we'll see how that ends up. But it
seems like a reasonable line.
Yeah, the Black-White Tokens deck was surprisingly resilient. I mean, this is a game where I didn't play anything for the first 5 turns, essentially.
Seriously.
Against the most powerful deck in the format, and has access to cards of all 5 colors. And, the very powerful ones at that.
God, it's just insane here, too, because you're up 2-1 in this position.
Yeah.
You are tantalizingly close to approach to a victory.
I was feeling it. I'm kind of feeling it again. Like I said, I haven't watched this game again.
Yeah, I can tell you. You're sitting next to me. I can see you're even more fidgety than normal.
Well, yeah, I'm normally not very fidgety. But all right.
Oh, it's got to be insane for you to rewatch this. I still can't believe you haven't gone back and watched it. I know it's like...
Dude, it's Heartbreak City.
Yeah.
This was one of the... both best games and worst losses I've ever had. In terms of, if winning 2 Pro Tours would have been awesome. I might have been able to get in the Hall of Fame if I won the 2nd Pro Tour, but... No, but it actually did mean a lot to me. And you know what? I kind of didn't know how much it meant to me till later, because this was my 2nd Pro Tour top 8.
Yeah.
And I'd won my 1st Pro Tour top 8. And I was like, wow, I might win another one of these? Sweet. And then a bunch more Pro Tour top 8s with, fairly quick exits, and I think back man, it would have been nice to win Kyoto.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not complaining, though. I really don't want it to come off like I'm complaining.
No, it
because
doesn't. It doesn't at all.
I really
People
was
understand.
very lucky to be in this position. I felt like I was really blessed.
That's fine, but there's nothing wrong with feeling disappointed.
The fates were on my side. It's just, it would have been nice to win this match. Is this where the PJ Salt emote starts?
No, everybody totally understands, man.
Plus, to give you more context, this is back when Nassif was one of the legendary all-time masters. She still is, but this was back when I was certainly not.
Yes.
I'm not saying I'm putting myself there, but I'm saying I was this was my second PT top 8. This was 2 years after I started playing on the Pro Tour. I was not a Pro Tour veteran by any stretch. I was in a lot of ways like a newcomer to the scene. So, getting to battle against Nassif in the finals of the Pro Tour, it was incredible.
It's incredible, especially just knowing how good Nassif is. And interestingly, he played for a while after this, but he did move away from Magic pretty shortly.
Yeah.
After this. This is what Nassif's maybe his 8th?
I think he
top 8 at the time?
8th or 9th.
Yeah.
I think he has 9 total.
Yeah, I think maybe he got 1 after this. I mean, that's pretty incredible stuff. All right, looks like there's some action here. You're going to give your Cloud Goat flying and
so basically what happened here is Nassif sent all 3 dragons at the Ajani to make sure he killed it because I had 2 potential flying blockers. And I chose to kill a token instead of an actual broodmate because I knew that Cruel Ultimatum was going to be next up.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. That's a Cruel Ultimatum on the stack, which if you haven't played with or against it, it is an absurd magic card.
Yeah, what's going to happen is I'm going to sacrifice, I think I end up sacrificing the Fairy token because I want to have 3 Kithkin to pump Cloud Goat. So I've sacrificed a creature. I have to discard 3 cards. That might have been why I didn't play Arcane Sanctum, actually, the turn before. I think I may have been sandbagging cards for Cruel Ultimatum because I knew he had it. Yeah, my 2009 me was really smart. He's way smarter than 2016 me. And then Nassif gets to draw 3 cards and get a creature back from his graveyard. So it kind of does it all. Also, I get drained for 5. I take 5 and he gains 5.
Yeah, it's an absurd card. One thing that I did want to ask you about, especially when we're in that sort of middle section of the game there, sweepers for Nassif?
He had Infest and Volcanic Fallout.
Okay, but he didn't have Wrath of God. I know some of these lists ran it, but it didn't seem like you were too concerned. I mean, you were just playing, Cloud Goats after everything.
Yeah, well, he also had a bunch of Broodmates in play. The thing is, beating the cards I knew about was already going to be so difficult. This whole game was such an uphill battle.
Yeah, no kidding.
That I didn't want to play around anything else. I figured I couldn't.
What is it?
It's another Planeswalker. It's Elspeth Knight Errant. So I had a lot of Planeswalkers in my deck.
This is one of the first great Planeswalkers. I remember
when this deck came Johnny Goldmane's better in the deck.
Yeah.
But Elspeth's a much better Planeswalker. I have no complaints about the power level of Elspeth in my deck.
Yeah. It's funny looking back, Elspeth was definitely one of the first Planeswalkers that they pushed the boundaries a little bit and maybe bumped up against it, the 2+ abilities. Neither of them seem particularly good when you read it, but she really overperformed. Even in a standard format as strong as this, she'd still make the cut.
Yeah, we say a standard format as strong as this, and I'm Cloud Goat Rangers and Knights of Metograde in my deck.
Yeah, you made decisions. By the way, you can see Rich Hagen here before he was in the booth.
Ricardo Tessitore actually on the other side of him. You can't see him in this shot, but he's with a head judge. He's wearing a red shirt. There we go.
Deep breath here from you, and I can imagine why. I mean, this game has drug on for quite a while. There's a lot.
This game has been an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah,
especially I think I'm losing. Wait. I think I might be winning. No, I'm losing again. So Elspeth does finally eat the negate.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm like, all right, well, I certainly haven't lost yet. I have a 5/5 Cloud Goat, 3/3 Kithkin. I'm getting a Bitter Blossom token every turn.
And is this you going for the Windbrisk Kites here?
Yeah, so I'm attacking with everything, letting Nassif eat one of the Kithkin, which I'm sure is what he does. And he takes 11 here.
Yeah.
To 14, that's a pretty significant hit, and I know I'm going to get to resolve this head games finally. I also have this 4/4 Mutavault that kind of lurking in the background. All right, so I play the head games to the surprise of basically no one. I take a look at Nassif's hand of basically nothing at this point.
It finally found the opening to play the stupid head games after having seen that negate so many turns ago.
Yeah.
He actually had another in his hand.
Basically, he got to play a Broodmate and a Cruel Ultimatum.
In the interim?
Before I was able to resolve head games. So here I give him 4 Vivid Lands.
Yeah, so that's sweet. And he did have a negate there, didn't have the mana for it. So how do you feel about it in this spot? The board looks like close-ish,
I'm winning right now.
right?
I've got a 5/5, 2/3/3s, a 4/4, a 1/1, and I'm making a 1/1 every turn, and I had another card in my hand. So at this point, I'm ahead, but it's not a done deal. Just Nassif has playing a 5-color deck. He's got so many cards he can just top deck.
Right, and he has some of the most powerful cards in the format, period, like Cruel Ultimatum,
Right.
even
But
just Broodmate
remember,
and stuff.
this is a game where I've ground through 2 Broodmate Dragons and a Cruel Ultimatum.
It's unbelievable.
Like, any one of those cards is better than any card in my deck. How much work can one Cloud Goat Ranger and one Ajani really do?
No kidding. I mean, yeah. It is insane to think that you're playing Cloud Goats when he's playing the power level of cards he's playing. Cloud Goat was a powerful Magic card, but it
wasn't the goat. It was not the greatest of all time.
It was not the goat. No. I think a lot of people would prefer to be on the Cruel Ultimatum. The funny part is, knowing you the way I know you now, I'm just surprised. Why weren't you playing this 5-color deck?
Dude, I was not into that 5-color deck.
You just didn't dig it?
And this is back when we just jammed Black-White at two tournaments in a row. Actually, the Pro Tour before this was Worlds 2008 in Memphis. Actually, Cheon's last Pro Tour before he kind of retired for a while.
Before he moved away. Mm-hmm.
And we all played Black-White tokens. And I did well with that,
the deck
tournament
was good.
too. I actually top 16 that Pro Tour.
The deck was good.
Yeah. So Dragon ate a Bitter Blossom token. The fact that we're using like those Thopter tokens is kind of annoying me now.
Yeah, that is really annoying.
But Marshall, can you get on that? Ooh, one of the best lands in my deck, Fetid Heath. It lets you cast Spectral Procession and Tide Hollow Sculler on the perfect curve.
It does. It also helps out with your
yeah, it's great with a Reflecting Pool.
Reflecting Pools, yeah.
Notice, it's no coincidence that me and Nassif were in the finals and we both had Tempest Reflecting Pools. I'm just saying. Yeah. People made good decisions in that tournament.
People judged you on style back then?
So Nassif had drawn a Sunken Hollows for his turn. So he's just or Sunken Runes. He's just on all lands. So I feel like this game, like from this position, I had to fade just a couple draw steps. Like
you're like very, very close now. Right?
Oh yeah.
My God.
I played another Sculler just to make sure.
And he shows you all lands.
Yeah. And the thing is, I was also very close to drawing something and taking the game over, but his deck has so many more draws. Like, if I drew any way to give my whole team +1, I would just basically win on the spot. But his deck had so many more cards that could just lead to a cascaded card draw.
God, how intense is this when he draws his card and starts, like, fidgeting
when
with his lands?
When you know it's a top deck war, and then they start, like, looking at their lands, like, yeah. So, at this point, Nassif can't even attack. I really hoped... Like, this could have been a perfect turn for him to make, like, a blunder and really give me the game if he had attacked with a Broodmate. Because remember, I can activate Mutavault as the 3rd Kiskin and send Cloud Goat to the skies and eat a dragon.
Right.
And I don't think Nassif was actually just going to attack, but I think he thought about it. Oh, except he drew a Volcanic Fallout. That could make that a better play.
But in this case, your creatures all have, what, 2+1/+1 counters, or most of them do?
Right. They're all 3/3s. He could set up a turn where he attacks... I block with Cloud Goat, he casts Volcanic Fallout. They'll kill my 2 tokens, my 2 Bitter Blossom tokens, and the dragon that he attacks with, and then I'd lose my Cloud Goat. But looks like he's...
I love how he thinks these things through. He's so good.
And that was the thing about this position, though, is like even something like Volcanic Fallout, which is normally good against Black-White, it's just not that great against me here.
I've got good at all.
3/3, 3/3, 5/5 in play. It's just not a position where you really like Volcanic Fallout. And part of the reason I'm at 15 still, by the way, is that 6 life from Ajani. I played Ajani and started +1ing it to gain 2 life.
Way back, way back from the early turns when you didn't have much going on the board besides Ajani. Wow, that's a big deal. Because I do remember playing against this 5-color deck, and when it did decide to win, it killed you very quickly. It was like Cruel Ultimatum attack you with 2 Broodmates. You're like, well, I'm dead next turn.
Yeah,
and you hadn't taken any damage before then.
Nassif and I still keeping up our respective paces of play. My turns are 10
You're
seconds
taking
long.
a little bit less time than Nassif. You guys are having a friendly chat. Nassif's a very friendly guy.
One of the things about playing Nassif, which I always like, is like we also have a friendly match. Like this was a high stakes match for sure. Both of us really wanted to win, but at the end of it, like, I mean, he's a great guy, and we had a good time during the match. Like, I don't, like, of the people I would like to lose to, he's pretty high on the list.
I mean, like you said, you were a relative newcomer to the high-level pro Magic scene at the time. I mean, did you know Nassif? Like, had you talked to him or met him before? Or was this like, hi, I'm Luis, good luck?
So he actually, his prior his 2 top 8s before this one was Worlds 2006, and we played in that Worlds. And then Worlds, I knew him from then on, and like Worlds 2007, he also top 8'd, like,
So you knew him
Yeah.
kind of on, like maybe you weren't texting with him all the time, but...
All right, this was the turn. So Nassif ended up. They somehow managed to like miss the actual play he made, but Nassif sent in Broodmate. I blocked with Cloud Goat, and he used Fallout to finish things off. But
which just finished off the Cloud Goat, right?
yeah. Mm-hmm. But then I drew Kitchen Finks, but then he drew Mole Drifter, and this is where the beginning of the end.
God, that has to be one of the worst things you could see, right? I mean, Cruel's worse, but like.
Yeah, him drawing Mole Drifter there made me think like this is going to be tough because he drew 2 cards again. He has like what 4, 7, like 12 lands in play or 13 lands in play. So he draws a bunch of extra cards. I end up casting the other head games.
You cast it, and what did he cryptic it?
I think he broken ambitions because we're scrying here.
Yep.
And then I'm still in a position where I can't attack. His 4/4 is just keeping back 2 3/3s, a 3/2, and 2 1/1s.
God, that's unbelievable. And he's at 12, which is just enough life here too.
Yeah, and then
do you feel like it's slipping away from you in the table at this point?
Like he has at least one spell off the Mole Drifter. I wasn't able to resolve, and I'm in the head games. I'm just playing off the top of my library, and he's already up a spell in a somewhat winning position. It's close because the Bitter Blossom does mean I'm getting something every turn, but he's just sitting there drawing extra cards. And the way that the card draw worked in that deck is he chained card draw into card draw.
Yeah, that's how it always seemed to go with that deck. Yeah, that Mole Drifter is just a total backbreaker.
I mean, grindy games like this are something that really is good for the 5-color deck. I was in it like almost the whole game. Like even now, there are cards I could draw that would get me back into it. Because look at Nassif's hand; it's like a Volcanic Fallout and a Broken Ambitions. So he hadn't gotten there either. He had still 3 lands in his hand. If my next couple draws were all spells, then there's a possibility I pull this out.
I mean, I know it's been a while now, but is there a card that you could think of here that you would really want to see, like as a Johnny, or like what is it that you wanted?
Well, Glorious Anthem is actually what I drew.
Ooh.
And Glorious Anthem is huge because...
Why are you tapped out here?
I think he let me resolve Spectral Procession, and then cast Broken Ambitions on the Glorious Anthem. So he countered the Procession, or he let the Procession resolve because he had Volcanic Fallout. Counter the Glorious Anthem, and that was, I think, the best card I could find because it would let my creatures attack into him. And now this is the kind of attack where he can go like Mole Drifter on the 3/2, Broodmate on the 3/3, and take 5, going down to 7, which means that the next turn I think I'd be able to attack with everything and kill him if he didn't have anything. But I didn't feel particularly optimistic about this play. Especially since I knew he had a Mole Drifter on top of his deck. He scryed and left that one on top.
He left the Mole Drifter on top?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And
is that also part of the reason why you're jamming here?
Yeah, that part of the reason is I felt like this gives me the best shot to win if he just takes a bunch of damage and the next turn I'm able to push damage through. Maybe I draw a removal spell, maybe I draw another Anthem, that sort of thing.
Right, because if he wants to tap a bunch of mana for Mole Drifter, it's going to.
I'm also kind of throwing away a 3/3 in order to deal like 7 damage, or 5 damage rather, and then I'm throwing away 3/3 and then trading Finks down for Mole Drifter and dealing 5 to Nassif, which seemed good given this board. He has Volcanic Fallout in hand, and he actually kind of signaled it a little by at first keeping the Broodmate away, but he decided that blocking like this was best.
Yeah, knowing that he's going to have a Mole
Drifter. He ends up taking 5. I get to gain 2, get the Finks back, and...
Now, he does wait, though, on the Volcanic Fallout to get the Finks as well.
Yeah, and also...
Because he could fire it off and take 2 less from the flyers.
Yeah, he also wants to wait so his Broodmate doesn't die, because it blocked a 3/3.
Okay, so he's actually going to just full-on wait till his turn.
And I think he even just casts it before he casts the Mole Drifter
just
here.
To save
and
the Drifter,
this just kind of puts the final nail in the coffin.
This just decimates your board, leaves you with just a 3/3?
Yeah, at this point it becomes... He gets to kill, 7 creatures with a Volcanic Fallout, play a Mole Drifter, draw 2 cards, hit me down to 8 because I take 2 off the Fallout. And then
you also take 1 off the Bitter Blossom, so you're at virtual 7.
Yeah, with 6 power in play and a counterspell in hand, plus the 2, because I think he has 1 more Broken Ambitions, or maybe not, I don't know. But he ends up drawing 2 off the Mole Drifter as well.
Ugh.
So Nassif's biggest decision here is whether he wants to cast Fallout before he casts Mole Drifter, but I assume that he does.
Otherwise, he just loses the Mole Drifter anyway.
Yeah, so...
And I can tell by your body language here that you're like, welp.
You attack him. I may as well draw 2 cards first.
Here comes the Mole Drifter.
You had to be pretty jealous of the Mole Drifter here, right?
Look, I chose not to put Mole Drifters in my deck at this tournament. That was a choice I made. Yeah. I chose to put Knight of Metagrid in my deck. Well, Knight of Metagrid is an uncommon. Mole Drifter's a common. So, that's the relative power level of those 2 cards.
Nassif took the hard road here.
And Nassif's still trying to figure out, will I lose to, a Terror or something along those lines? Turns out he would not, but...
Yeah. Yeah, no more Mutavault for you down there. So you're going to go down to 7 life here.
Yeah, at this point, I need to draw something like Cloud Goat into Glorious Anthem or Cloud Goat into a Johnny.
Just some explosive draw here.
Yeah, he's got to attack with
And you can see that he immediately snaps off the chump block there. Yeah. You do draw an Anthem, though. Like you said, it would have been better to have it the other way around. And that's going to do it. We know that the
dragon plus
attack.
the Bitter Blossom was going to finish me off. He had
Wow.
a killer token. So that was game 4.
That was a
intense.
huge game. And you can see the big smile from Nassif. And it looks like you took it pretty well. I mean, that was just an incredible game to watch. How are you feeling now?
No, it was good. I actually liked watching that. It was
cool
fun.
to revisit it.
Yeah, it was interesting. I like that there's more video proof of how unlucky I am in the world.
Speaking of that, we're not going to go over Game 5 here, but can you give us the recap?
Game 5 is a little less exciting. I'm old to 5, and my hand is just not good at all. Like, I never did anything. I mean, maybe we'll watch and I'll play a spell or two, but at no point did I ever even think I was close to winning Game 5. Like, I think my first play was like turn 4 or something, but not even like a good one.
Where does this game rank in all-time games played for you, for your career?
It might be my most memorable game. I mean, I think it was just like the highs and lows of that game were pretty absurd. I've had some really good games. Again, I've been lucky enough to have a lot of really interesting games because it's so funny that when you're in the finals of the PT Game 5, and would you choose to have your opponent mulligan to 5? It's like, yeah, of course you would. You want to win the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
If every game was like that, would you want to play Magic? Well, no, of course you wouldn't. You want some of those Game 4s. You want some of those awesome games, even if you're the one losing. You want some really, really good games, and that Game 4 was a really good game.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks for taking us through that, Luis.
Yeah,
that was
that was
really
fun.
Really fun to do that. Maybe we'll do this for some other ones.
Yeah, we'll see.